Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of These Aren't the Nerds You're Looking For. I am Lorenzo Fon, sitting here with...
Kevin Horde.
How's it going, sir?
I got a phlegmy throat, and this Nat Light that I'm drinking is not helping that out, so we'll see how this goes.
We're moving along in the year here. It's getting a little colder. You and I were just talking right before we hit record. Our recordings definitely have been more sporadic. We'll talk about that later, but, I'm also in a sweater myself, even though I'm in Southern California, so...
Yep, I'm holed up in my basement, like other peoples have been accused of, but I'm wrapped up in a quilt that is nice and cozy, I guess.
Yeah.
And trying to stay warm. We're doing good. Temperatures here plummeted recently, and that is neither here nor there when it comes to the Clone Wars. But it's like somebody opened up the airlock, let all the heat out.
Yeah, we will indeed be talking more about airlocks and everything as we head into talking about Star Wars, the Clone Wars. We're on Season 5, Episode 13. This is the episode titled Point of No Return. I have an air date of January 11th, 2013 for Canada, and then January 12th, 2013 for everywhere else.
Yep.
Director Bosco Ng and writer Brent Friedman.
These guys are normally a good pair, so let's see how this goes.
Yeah, we'll see. This is continuing our arc with R2-D2 and Meeber Gascon, Colonel Gascon. Last we saw, they were leaving the planet of Abafar, where they had spent some time and dealt with the Void and other stuff. Found a clone out there.
Yeah.
But they were making their way off planet, and they were headed towards a Jedi cruiser. That's where we last saw them, and this is where we start.
Before we get to that, you want to talk about the fortune cookie there, sir?
Yes. The fortune cookie for this episode is you must trust in others or success is impossible.
What you got? Who you got?
Again, did not think about this whatsoever. Wrote it down and everything. Didn't think about it. But I feel like
I couldn't come up with anything logical here, but I got stuck on the word impossible, and then I also got stuck on the trust in others portion of this, and like the impossible thing pushed me toward like a Sith thought, right? Because only Sith deal in absolutes, unless you're a Jedi talking about Sith dealing in absolutes, then it seems like you do as well. But then the second thing was like the trust in others. And I'm going out on a limb here, but I'm saying that this is like Darth Sidious, right? Because it's not that he trusts in others, but he's trying to get people to trust in him.
Okay.
Based on your expression, you're not following me there.
Sort of.
It's like a trickery thing. Like you're trying to convince other people that they need to trust in you. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, the outcome is not going to go in their favor, right?
Right.
But in reality, he's just trying to mold them into what he wants to happen. Not that he trusts them, but they need to trust in him or in others.
Okay.
You got to have something better than that.
Any line of thinking I've had is it's not the reason I don't like that I would disagree with you attributing this to Sith is just because of
the whole trust thing.
Yeah, the whole trust thing. Yeah. This whole idea of teamwork, which is why like maybe in light of like this episode I would attribute it to someone like maybe Mace or Anakin who would give this advice to Gascon,
Yeah.
Who, over the last 3 previous episodes, we only saw kind of trying to be the hotshot colonel, making orders and stuff like, calling out orders to the droids, but not really seeing them as a team per se.
Right.
Even though the arc of each and every single episode is like Gascon learns how to work with a team, and then like the very next episode it's like, oh, he's just a dick colonel again. But like, so like this is kind of
soft reset.
Yeah, it's a soft reset every time, and to look forward, I will say at least with this episode, it's not as extreme as the three previous, but I feel like it's the logical conclusion of where we end up with this final arc and Gascon, right?
So could we say that maybe it's just like a generic background Jedi Master?
Maybe. I mean, like I said, was it Mace who sent Gascon off on the mission? Is that one who was?
I think it was both of them. It was the big three, wasn't it? Or
right,
three of the
like
big
Obi,
four.
Mace, Anakin.
Yeah,
right. So I say pick one of those.
Mace Windu it is.
They're telling it to Gascon as they're headed off.
Mace is Master Windu is air quotes extreme enough to be dropping the impossibles in there. So sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
works for me. So we talked about the newsreel a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm. So basically, it just covers everything we've seen in the last episode, especially with the second and the previous episode of them being on Abafar. But yeah, it actually just straight up leads into that shot of them headed towards the destroyer.
Yep.
And as they make their way to the destroyer, there's no communications back, so they keep trying to contact, and nobody is pinging them back. And we, in fact, get Whack, the droid who's piloting the ship that they're on, saying that he has a bad feeling about this. Mm-hmm. And as they come in to land on the Star Destroyer, like, the lights are off. Nobody's home. Doors are closed even.
Yep.
Right. But they go ahead and land anyways. And they make their way to the bridge. And they see a bunch of clones hanging around talking. They're all in, like, their gray suits and everything.
Yeah, they're uniformed up and they're busy. There is no dialogue from the clones. No dialogue, and no Jedi in sight either. It's literally just clones. Mm-hmm. So then the droids make their way in, and Gascon jumps on the holo projector thing, like the war table.
Yeah, thing. The war map projector thing. And says like, "Hey, I have the decoder for you guys." Mm-hmm. So, and he's like a dick about it too. So he's like, "No need to thank me. I found this, and you can congratulate me later, but I wanted to get this to you." And the clone holds out his hand, and as Gascon drops it, it falls through his hand, and it turns out the clone is a hologram. And it turns out, as the droids see that, they start rolling around the whole place, and all the droids are holograms.
Right. So these clones are like NPCs, right?
Yes, yeah.
Are the holograms programmed to do one thing or another, or is this like an intelligent programming where they are able to interact with, like, visually with things? Like, if a Jedi walked in, would they look toward the Jedi?
No, I think this is like a recording that's just on a loop.
So this is just coincidence that the holo clone put his hand out, right, to accept.
Yeah, because if you look really closely, at least on my one view through, it just looked like the clone was just turning and like motioning with like just normal hand speech, right? But Gascon, not noticing it, took it as the clone holding the hand out to accept the decoder chip.
Right. And instead of an accepting offer, it was simply a busy gesticulation.
Yeah, it was just normal speech hand gestures, right?
All right, cool.
So that's the impression I got. So like this is like the speed security camera footage just looping around, right? So it's probably like, because it's a hologram, I'm sure they programmed it in a way that's like a perfect loop, Mm-hmm. So there isn't like that weird cut of somebody like pushing the briefcase under the chair from Speed, right?
Putting her purse down.
Yeah, putting her purse down and pushing it back.
This is why clones are not allowed to carry purses, because when they are in need of being tracked in an indefinite loop, they might be caught.
So I definitely just see this. Your description is of NPCs, like deep background NPCs, right?
Mm-hmm.
That are just gonna do their thing,
Yeah.
That's what I got of this. But then immediately from this point, the destroyer that they're on shoots off into hyperspace.
Yep.
So it kind of freaks everybody out for a second, and then they realize pretty quickly from here that there are, in fact, they make their way through the destroyer, right? And they go deeper into the bridge, and then that's when they spot the Confederate droids.
Yeah, because I guess they're in the war room now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess they go through another door. It's kind of ambiguous. And then they're on the bridge proper. There's more of these holograms, and they get called out by some separatist droids.
Yep.
Who are the ones that are actually running this ship.
Yeah. So there are a bunch of battle droids underneath in the... And then I don't know what the names of any that weird sub level with where all the switches and the buttons.
The lower bridge.
Yeah, the actual lower bridge, because there's the weird catwalk thing.
Yeah,
right.
I feel like they designed that to be actually bridge like, and then they're in the command moat.
Mm-hmm. Command moat is a good way to put it. Which I don't think we've ever discussed this before. Is that based on any real design or anything?
I don't think so.
Because it's
I mean,
because
I've seen the Avengers movies, and they have flying aircraft carriers, and they don't have they have
the bridge
elevated
is still flat.
Platforms.
Yeah,
right. They don't have
a central catwalk that separates the two sides.
I don't know. I'm going to look into this. It's not going to happen.
Because I will say, I mean, this is really a spoiler because we've already discussed this previously on the show, but spoilers for people who have not gone on Rise of the Resistance. I will say there's a section where you end up in the ride in the bottom section
in the
of
moat?
the bridge. Yeah, in the moat part, right? And I will say, seeing that in person, you're like, this is not practical. I don't... Because, are the people piloting the ship are they in the moat, or where are they?
They're in the moat, but they also have advanced computer systems, so they're not piloting visually.
So they don't need to worry about looking out the window to see what's actually going on.
Correct.
They're just using all instrumentation.
This keeps the Admiral clear to view everything.
Okay, I'll go with that. I'll go with that.
Except for on these Venerator class Star Destroyers, there are eye stalks with two bridges.
Okay, so they're blocking each other.
Yeah, it's kind of like being in the Millennium Falcon, where you got this huge mandible that sticks out directly to the left of the cockpit, but you can never see it looking out the cockpit.
Right.
It's kind of like that.
Never. You never see it. So, yeah. So, anyways, there's just a thought that popped in my head, as we've never really discussed the logistics of the layout of these destroyer bridges. Anyways, a chase ensues with our D squad, as they are labeled on Wikipedia, which I don't think we've ever seen before.
Yeah, we have.
Have we?
I think it stands for Droid Squad.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's just Droid Squad.
I'm going to look into that while you continue on.
But yeah, so they run off, and they end up in another control room, and they find a what happens here? So
there's a detonator.
Yes.
So we got some battle droids that say, hey, the commander wants the detonator in the control room, which is different from the war room and different from the bridge and different from the moat, right?
Yeah.
It's just a different room that apparently overlooks the
it's like the hangar.
The hangars and the docking bays or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And
so then
this is where they end up.
Yeah, so they end up in there. So the battle droids carry that thing in. It's like this big, heavy box of a thing for some weird reason. Who knows why? The droids have trouble carrying this in. One droid, in fact, gets like severely injured. If that's how we can describe droids getting hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But then R2-D2, just like looking at it, is like, oh, this is a bomb trigger.
Yeah, and he also says this is not Republic property, right?
Right. So he's like, I don't know where this came from, but it's not good because it's for a bomb. And then all the other droids and Gascon are freaking out. They're like, what are you talking about? And then one of the droids, or R2 even, like hits a button or something, and then like the blast doors in the hangar doors all open, and there's just like a shit ton of Rhydonium,
which was a fuel that was mined from the planet that they were on, right? And apparently Aberfar. Aberfar. All of the docking bays are just full of Rhydonium.
Just a bunch of canisters of Rhydonium.
So
just hanging out.
This is, I guess, equivalent to like not just an oil tanker, but if the oil tanker was like refined fuel, or is Rhydonium the unrefined fuel?
I have no idea. Because all we get is that they are Rhydonium. We hear nothing else about them. They're canisters of Rhydonium.
Right.
They figure out really quickly that they are planning on using this Rhydonium somehow to destroy something in the Republic. And then they kind of work out the logistics.
Yeah, Gascon thinks that they're just going to blow the ship up. And it's weird logic here because he calls it like a Titanic-sized explosive, right?
Yeah.
It's big. Okay. And somebody says with this much Rhydonium, you could blow up an entire Republic fleet.
Mm-hmm.
And Gascon's like, well, I'm out.
He's like, my mission was one thing, and this was not it.
This was not it. My mission, I never had orders to stop the Separatists from fucking blowing up a giant-ass bomb. And basically, he's being a scaredy cat. He's trying to run away, right? So he orders everybody to get back in the ship because they're going to evacuate, and a droid tweedles out, oh, we got to wait till we're not in hyperspace anymore, which I didn't think that was a thing. I thought that we'd seen, or maybe we see, is that in Rebels? Is that when that happens? Where they like disconnect the Phantom from the Ghost in hyperspace and then like split off, and like one of them drops out of hyperspace or something?
But then, like,
I thought that was.
I feel like in every other instance, though, there's always is it in Last Jedi where? Yeah, it's in Last Jedi where when they get to Finn and Rose like take the little ship to go to what's the fucking casino planet,
right?
The casino planet,
Canto Bight.
Oh, Canto Bight. Thank you. Because like they can't just eject out in hyperspace, like the ship stops real quick and then like shoots off again, right? So I think it just depends on whoever's interpreting what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Right?
It's plot convenience is what you're saying?
Right. It's always plot dependent, right?
Yeah.
It's always plot dependent because I think also from a visual standpoint, like with the live action films like in Last Jedi, because the shot is external. The shot is external, and we see Canto Bight, and then we see the ship appear, the two ships disconnect, and then the main ship shoots off again, right? I think
you're close on that. It is in The Last Jedi, but on Canto Bight they do land. It's when the Millennium Falcon, piloted by Chewie, drops out of hyperspace so that Rey can fire out in the escape pod.
You're right. It's the escape pod. You're right. So it's still...
But it's questionable as what's happening inside the ship. But
yeah, from like the ship perspective, if they were just to launch out that escape pod, you know...
I think you wouldn't see the Millennium Falcon. I think that a tumbling escape pod would disappear. But I do feel that in some Star Wars canon, maybe it came after this, there is like an ejection from a ship while
hyperspace.
in hyperspace.
And I don't disagree with you either. I just don't have that memory off the top of my head.
Yeah,
it could be Rebels. You might be right there. Or it might be previous Clone Wars even, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't disagree with you that we haven't seen it before.
It just it felt like kind of an unnecessary exposition.
Complication. Right. Yeah, because maybe it's like ship dependent. Because like I think part of the excuse with the Falcon is that Rey's just like in this like the single person escape pod, right? Maybe it's like whatever forces. I mean, I'm gonna have more questions on this later. We'll get to it.
Yeah.
But I think it might be dependent on what is getting ejected, right?
Okay.
Does that make sense? Because like,
sure.
let's say it's the Phantom and the Ghost. Like, let's say perhaps the Phantom can withstand that force of disconnecting and then like slowing down to whatever speed it needs to slow down to like not be in hyperspace, right?
Right.
Because every time we see it, it's almost it's kind of instantaneous. Like you go from like cruising speed,
flash of light to stop,
flash of light, yeah, and then flash of light, and then opposite direction, right? We never see like a gradual coming out of hyperspace, right?
Right. So okay, here's a theory. Mm-hmm. This ship that they are on, not the Star Destroyer, not the
Destroyer,
right? Not the good guy Star Destroyer, but the modified LAT or whatever, the transport ship that they rode up to the Jedi cruiser. It's not even a Jedi cruiser. What do they call these things? Why am I drawing a blank here?
What?
The good guy Star Destroyers. What are they?
Yeah, good guy. They're just Star Destroyers, I thought.
I didn't think the Republic had Star Destroyers. They're something else. Anyway.
Attack cruisers, Jedi cruisers.
Sure. I thought the Jedi cruisers were like the little ones. I guess those are starfighters, though. Anyway, the transport ship that they are going to escape in maybe I'd say it doesn't have a hyperdrive, but we've seen them. No, we didn't. They had a different ship, right? When they crash landed. So
they crash landed,
this transport ship does not have a hyperdrive. So then they cannot, if they were to eject from the good guy Star Destroyer, they would not have a means to exit hyperspace.
Right. They would just be
stuck
force
in
of
hyperspace.
nature. Yeah. By like laws of gravity, they're just continually rolling at that speed until they hit something.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Let's go with that.
I'll go with that.
That makes as much sense as anything else that has happened so far.
Yep. I like it.
The moment that you were talking about where they learn what the plot is moving forward, like what the Separatists are trying to do with this ship, right? We see one of those rabbit droids.
Yeah.
From like a super low angle.
And briefly first, because like so they leave the control room and they're like trying to make their way back to the other ship because Gascon again just wants to get to the ship and wait until they're out of hyperspace and then just eject off of there, right? He doesn't want to fight. He doesn't want to do anything. It's too big for him, right?
Yep.
So then as they're walking around, R2 spots this rabbit droid and like the rabbit droid's kind of like peeking around the corner, and then that's when R2 kind of spots it, right? And then R2 kind of like holds it hostage and then makes it follow the rest of the droids and Gascon.
Yeah, he definitely does. He does the Mandalorian sneak around the other hallway and capture the thing, and then parade it back to the rest of the group, and then they get the information out of it. I thought this was pretty clever. Because I feel like the only time that we've seen these rabbit droids before, they have been they've been used by the Separatists. Like, I don't remember seeing a Republic rabbit droid before, and I could just be misremembering, but that stuck out to me. So I was like, oh shit, there's a rabbit droid. What's going on here? Like, they're caught again, but then it turns out that they're all on the same side, and the rabbit droid's like, my master was killed. I don't think it was a Jedi master. I think it was just whomever was in command of this droid that also worked on the ship. Who knows?
Right.
Could have been a technician. Could have been anything. Right?
Right.
And so he explains, like, or she does. She's BNI something or other.
393.
393. And I was like, BNI, what is this going to stand for? Immediately she says, my nickname is Bunny.
Right.
Voiced by Catherine Tabor, which is Padme's voice, right?
Actually, I don't. Yes. Yeah, that is. Yeah.
Took
me a second to think about it, but yes.
Anyway, she says, there's more of us or whatever, and we need help. We need you to help us escape. I know what you're going to do. Take us with you type deal. Mm-hmm. Gascon seems slightly excited by this, I guess. Excited's not really the right word.
I was gonna say, was he? I don't.
Elevated in attention, maybe. And he's like, oh, there's more of you. And in this cheesy turnaround that happens like 2 scenes later, even though they're 12 feet from their ship, they get there and it ends up being 2 gonk droids, a mouse droid, and a Treadwell.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that, and then Gascon is disappointed again. But they figure out what the actual plan is, and it's to essentially crash this ship into a what's going on the Corita system?
It's like a conference of some sort. Yep. So it's like
it's a strategy conference. That's what it is.
Yeah. So it's like an assortment of ships, and it's like one big meeting ship or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they're called.
It's a space station.
Yeah, it's a big station, essentially. So, yeah, they're going to crash this ship straight into the station and then blow it up at the same time with all this rhydonium on board.
Yep. So the idea is that somehow the Separatists found out that there's going to be a large collection of higher-ups in the Republic military, including Jedi and generals and others, right? Strategic planners and whatnot. So they had enough time to capture this ship, kill everyone on board, dispose of all of their bodies, set up this rendezvous point out on the planet where the void is, and harvest and collect all this rhydonium enough to fill an entire good guy Star Destroyer one bay at a time with only a single ship, because there's no other transport ships, right?
Yeah.
And then they're going to crash it into the NATO conference that's going on.
Yep. So that's the plan. There are other complications, so they can't send out a warning. All communications are blocked. The bunny droids and the other droids that were there before have already tried.
Mm-hmm.
There was one scene prior to this meeting where the
tactical droid.
Yeah, the tactical droid sent off a buzz droid to try and find these other droids, our D squad, rolling around.
Mm-hmm.
And the buzz droid is successful and does find them, but is spies on them from a distance, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then this buzz droid overhears everything that these droids were discussing, and then starts making its way out of there with that information. And then all the other droids in D Squad, and including the new members of D Squad, as I will refer to them as, spot this buzz droid, and R2-D2 starts chasing after this buzz droid and chases him out of the hangar, even into a separate hangar with the big cannons.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's got like the big windows that look out into space with the cannons. Their cannons are retracted in a little bit, so they aren't poking out or anything. But you can see windows outside, and there's like the blue wall of hyperspace is buzzing by, right?
So they do go through the shield. They're not retracted all the way in. And I only say that because I thought, oh, that's weird. Like, they're in hyperspace. You would think that they would need to like fully
retract the
disengage or something. Yeah. The only reason I bring that up is because it stuck out to me. Like, I think the visual of like the impact cannon like firing and whatnot is really cool. Both in Revenge of the Sith and Smuggler's Run, right? So, not Smuggler's Run.
Rise of the Resistance.
Yep, Rise of the Resistance. Like, that's super, super cool. And it just, it was weird to me, like, why is this, like, I've seen pirate movies and the cannons aren't just hanging out. Like, they even have, like, a little wood flap that comes down.
Yeah, that they can close down so water isn't always, like, flying in if it's, like, raining or weather gets inclement or anything.
Or hyperspacing around you, right?
Right, yeah, exactly.
So, I don't know. It was just a visual that it kind of made me think about something other than what was actually going on, which sometimes is a good thing. In this case, it was not. No. But we catch up to our buzz droid, right? The chase ends in a dead end, and then we get a lot of shots like from droid perspectives in this episode. And the buzz droid's like walking along this wall, and then lo and behold, we have Attack of the Killer Spider buzz droids.
Yep, there are a whole bunch of them, and they start swarming out, just out of nowhere, just coming through down every surface of the wall.
At first, I was like, okay, this is cool. And then, secondly, I thought this just happened in season 2, episode 2 of The Mandalorian. And then, right now, talking about it, I'm thinking, why on this mission to blow up a ship when there's one tactical droid and, I don't know, dozens of battle droids? Are there 2,000 buzz droids just packed into this one location?
Yeah, that was my question. That was definitely my question. This felt weird to me. Like, having a couple buzz droids on hands makes sense, but having a whole swarm of them when you're on a kamikaze mission,
Is there like a captain of the buzz droids? Because the tactical droid had one behind his back, like the dude in a fucking bowling ball, right?
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how the buzz droids work. I don't know if there's like a central command on them. There's like if the technical droid is like blasting out the same information to all of them. Like it's weird.
Right.
This whole thing is a little weird.
So how do our D Squad heroes escape this conundrum?
Yeah. So R2-D2 starts flying, creates a ring of oil, and then lights the oil on fire, so that at least creates like a barrier between them and the swarming buzz droids. But then buzz droids start coming from above, and then, who is it? Is it BZ? Yeah, BZ, M5BZ is like, guys, hang out. I'll take care of this. So then he breaks through the fire barrier, heads to the airlock controls, and everybody's like, oh shit. Everybody start magnetizing your feet, because he then opens the airlock, and all of the buzz droids start flying out, and the buzz droids kind of take him with them, and they all get sucked out into the hyperspace tube with the buzz droids.
That was it was inevitable. He sacrificed himself. Good thing they saved him 3 episodes ago.
Exactly. So then R2 makes his way over to the airlock and closes the airlock again. Gascon gives a speech about, how he came to trust and love BZ, basically, and how that sacrifice won't be in vain. So they're going to stop the separatists on this ship.
So was this speech a joke?
I don't think so. I think this is again, because Gascon has like had these like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back,
Here's why I think it's a joke. one of the droids says, we need to honor his sacrifice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, hey, Commander, do you want to say something? And Gascon says, yes, but we don't have a lot of time. I should make this quick. And it lasts for almost a full minute.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 1/22 worth of the entire time of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's like supposed to be funny, but the fact that he's like, gotta make this quick, we got stuff to do, and then he just continues to ramble on it. It's like the largest block of dialogue and soliloquy from a singular character in this, probably in this entire 4-episode arc. Mm-hmm. And I think that I feel like if I was writing something with this kind of semi-annoying, overly verbose character, like he's always talking. He's a guy that talks and not a guy that does, right?
Right.
This is like the opportunity to just have him keep rambling on and on and on. Because like he says a block of something and then he kind of stops and he turns and he's like pacing back and forth on top of somebody's head. And just keeps on going and going and going. And visually, we get some camera pans and other things are happening, but the bulk of what he says is nothing that he hasn't said before.
Exactly.
And it doesn't move anything forward as far as what actually needs to happen in the plot. Like, in the end, I guess he gets around to, this is what we're going to do. But that's why, like, when it happened, I was like, oh, this is a joke, right? Like, he just keeps going and going and going, much like I'm doing right now.
Yeah. All good. No, I don't know. I don't disagree with you. I don't see it as a joke from a character standpoint. It just might be kind of rough writing, maybe.
Well, I was thinking it was a joke from, like, the writing standpoint. Like, isn't this funny? Isn't this funny? Like, somebody's elbow rubbing somebody else in the writer's room.
Look, if that was the intention, then that shit did not land with me at all.
Fair enough.
So, that's... no. I just don't see it. My question about the hyperspace, we were talking about ejecting to hyperspace before. But, like, quickly, like, just visually seeing the buzz droids and BZ kind of fly out, and then they kind of just fall behind, and then that visual was weird to me. Again, it's like anytime hyperspace is treated as like an actual tube, like that, I don't agree with that. I think visually that's what is seen from inside the ship, but then like when we get camera shots from outside the ship, like in my head, it's as if we're still kind of seeing everything from the camera's perspective, warping around the camera, right? It's just that whatever ship we're seeing, whether it be the Millennium Falcon or a Star Destroyer, that is just the frame of reference that we have. Like, our frame of reference to the ship is like, that's not moving. But then when we kind of get this camera pan from behind the ship to the side, and then we kind of keep seeing, like, it's like, from my perspective, that when we look sideways, it should just be a wall of blue, but then it really, like, when we're behind the ship, it really looks like it's a continuous, like, tube of blue, right?
And there's like the light warble around.
Yeah. But then, like, when you pan sideways, it still looks like towards the top and the bottom of the camera of the screen, right? It still looks like, you're looking sideways at a tunnel, right? But I don't feel that should be correct. Like, it should just be like, once you pan sideways,
it should almost be like a sphere of the blue.
I wouldn't even say that. No, because, like,
I would think so, because In theory, this is like the light of, I don't know, is this the light of real space that you're actually passing by, or is it because it is quote unquote hyperspace? And I don't know how it works, because you're traveling faster than the speed of light, so technically you wouldn't be able to see light at all, right?
And like theoretically, like nothing should be that close to you. Like I think that's my problem with it from a visual standpoint, is like it just looks like if BZ had kept floating sideways, which theoretically, technically he should have anyways. Like as soon as he got ejected out, he should have just kept going sideways from the perspective of the ship. There's no reason for him to fly backwards, you know?
Yeah, I was just thinking about this, and I don't think he's flying backwards. It's that the ship. Yeah, it implies that there is some. It implies that there is resistance inside this hyperspace tube, as you called it, which is another reason why I question why the gun turrets are sticking out the side of the ship.
Right.
Because they should be feeling that resistance as well.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is like, okay, so when you're looking forward, the star tunnel makes sense to me, right? But then when you're looking sideways, they treat it as if you're in a tunnel still. So like if you on the screen, the perspective at the top and the bottom still kind of curves towards camera. But this is going to sound weird, but like as you look sideways from my head, like a human's perspective, it should be flat almost, because like basically anything you're looking at sideways is all from your perspective traveling backwards
past you, right?
Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's like looking out the window as you're going down a freeway past a cornfield, sort of. You know what I mean? Like an infinite cornfield all the way up, like up. You know.
I think it would be more like being in a bubble that was dragged through liquid.
Okay.
But that you could see the liquid moving from in front of the bubble, around it in every direction, coming back together behind you.
And closing.
Yeah.
So like a full Bernoulli?
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
That's the way that I feel.
Kind of go with that. Okay. I'll go with
that. It might work.
Okay.
We always have lots of questions about hyperspace, and I think that is because
it just doesn't make any sense.
It's always different.
It is always different. Yeah, because I can, at least in like Star Trek, to like jump ship that direction. At least like there was an attempt at an explanation of what was happening there. And then that's why, for me, Star Trek Into Darkness, when JJ tried to make their version of light speed, you know, or warp travel, right?
Mm-hmm.
He tried to just make it that light speed tunnel again.
Mm-hmm.
So he had like the chase through warp speed, which is not how it fucking works in Star Trek, right? As Star Trek's internal logic is that when the Enterprise goes into warp speed, what's happening is that it's actually just folding the space underneath it.
Mm-hmm. So you're literally going from point A to point B.
Yeah, like it's technically should be instantaneous. Yeah,
it should be instantaneous travel.
Yeah. So that, from my understanding, was how it worked on Star Trek. Because like that was a more like science-based show than a fantasy-based show. The way Star Wars is more fantasy with science elements, right? Does that make sense? Like those are just kind of two different sides of the same flip, right?
Totally makes sense.
So that's why, again, one last rant. Star Trek Into the Darkness, I fucking hated that scene. Even when I was watching it in theaters, I was just sitting there. I'm like, this is not how it works. This is not how it works at all. Because one ship like butt taps the Enterprise, and then when the Enterprise like kind of spins like 45 degrees, it like taps the side of the Starfield tunnel, and then like the Starfield tunnel like bursts I'm like, this is what? No, that's not.
And then it drops out of the Starfield tunnel, right? No.
Yeah, or like the Starfield tunnel like disappears. It's like Tinkerbell, like spinning around, and like the pixie dust flies everywhere.
Right.
And then like she lands on her butt, right? But then with Star Wars, it's never been consistent. It's always just been a use case of like whatever they need at the moment, right?
Yeah, I think that hyperspace works better when it's a single ship in isolation. When you have like multiple ships that are shooting through a tunnel and they can see each other.
Yeah, like that doesn't make sense to me either.
Or that you can see multiple ships from like an exterior shot.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I never really thought of it before, but
because technically think about like when multiple X-wings are all coming to the same, like because the X-wings have some sort of hyperdrive on them, right? And we always see like when a bunch of them come to save the day, and we see them like all kind of appearing, as it were, in a location. They aren't on the same. They might be coming from the same direction, but they aren't on the same track, technically speaking. They like, let's say two of them, they're parallel, right? So in my mind, technically speaking, like when two of them, even if they're traveling parallel, they shouldn't be able to see each other in front of each other.
Right.
They might be able to look sideways and see each other, but then I still don't think they would be like in their own, or they would be in a shared star tunnel per se. Maybe actually no. In that case, I think they would, if they're like real close to each other. Because from their perspective, there's nothing traveling in between them.
Yeah, but in my bubble through liquid analogy, each bubble would be separate.
Mm-hmm.
And you would not see the other bubbles even if they were near touching.
It's
because what you're seeing is the literal hyperspace around you.
See, but then this is why, like for me, it's the perspective. So like in this, if there are two X-wings that are traveling next to each other at the same speed, then in that case, to me, it's like looking at a car traveling the same speed as you next to you on the freeway, right? So
only if it's an actual space that you can exist in, as opposed to something where, because it depends on how the rules of hyperspace work. Like, are you actually just traveling faster than the speed of light? Are you traveling through some sort of wormhole? Are you if it's literally like, because they talk about hyperspace lanes, so if it was like an express lane on the highway, then you wouldn't need as many like technical calculations to be able to go through hyperspace. You would just need to know like the entrance point and the exit point. But the fact that Han Solo talks about bouncing too close to a star, or yada yada yada, right? That each hyperspace jump is calculated individually, theoretically, before hyperspace skipping and stuff like that. But those are light speed jumps where it's like in, out, in, out, in, out, and I guess you're just hoping on luck. I don't really know. Haven't looked into that too much, but if indeed each hyperspace jump is independent and requires all these calculations, then I don't think that even ships jumping from the same place at the same time, unless they are jumping in air quotes together, where they're like, and I don't know how that would work either, right? Obviously, there's something that has to, I guess, protect these ships, like getting in and getting out of hyperspace and or existing in hyperspace itself, right? But that should be independent from each other ship. And I think back to, like, Return of the Jedi, when Lando and his accoutrement of ships jump, right? You see, like, zoom, 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 zoom.
Yep.
You don't see one zoom and like 8 flashes of light.
Right.
Like each of them
so,
fire off differently.
Right. But that's what I mean. So it's like, if in that case, yes, then none of those ships should see other ships in hyperspace.
Correct.
I don't think. In that case. But then, like, my hypothetical is if two happen to hit the hyperspace button at the same time and they're next to each other, right? Mm-hmm. I think in that case, they would see each other if they're right next to each other, right?
Okay. Maybe.
With like, there shouldn't be, like, they would be in, from their perspective, one shared blue tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But I agree with you, if one is even a second behind,
even a fraction of a second. Like if you're traveling, the speed of light itself is 186. What is it? 186,000 miles a second. 186,000. 186 million miles a second. Whichever it is.
186,000. Right. Per second. Yeah.
So even at a half a second difference, you're looking at 98,000 miles difference.
Well, yeah, for sure. But then, again, that's why, like, in this hypothetical where they just happen to hit the button at the exact same time. Mm-hmm. But I agree with you, the moment somebody's out of sync or whatever, then, yeah, you're essentially in your own tunnel,
Okay.
But anyways, yeah. So I'm amazed we have not had this full discussion. I'm sure we have had.
We've had rumblings parts of it before.
But sure. not this deep into the what the people would see within the hyperspace lane.
Yeah. So, I have more questions, but I feel it'll just drag this out. Yeah. And so we're going to drop out of the hyperspace discussion, and we're going to actually drop out of hyperspace in general in this episode. Because that's
so let's speed through. So real quick, D Squad get out of this side hangar.
Scenario.
Yeah, the side hangar. All the buzz droids are gone. So basically, they come up with a plan for R2 to reprogram the trigger, the detonator, so that it fires early. Mm-hmm. But then they kind of realize that there's a smaller time frame, essentially, because they're shortening when the bomb will blow. Mm-hmm. But they're like, look, this is what we got to do. So R2 heads to the control room to try and do that, but then that tactical droid is already there and programming the detonator to blow up. So then R2 and the tactical droid get in a fight. The rest of the D Squad, as they're making their way back to the shuttle, they run into more battle droids. There's a few battles happening on all at the same time. Gascon flies up and sees that R2 is in a fight and refuses to leave R2 behind, so rallies the other droids to try and go help R2. Whack is not privy to this information and then goes, all right, time for liftoff, and then gets out of there.
Is that what it is? He's not privy, or he knows that everybody's going to die if they don't keep on going?
It just seems, I don't know, lack of information, because we basically get Gascon saying, like, we don't leave anybody behind, and then it just cuts to Whack going, like, all right, I think we're ready for liftoff, and then, like, hits the button and gets out of there.
Yep.
So then we cut back to R2. He is able to knock out the tactical droid and then reprograms the detonator, and the tactical droid is like, of course, like, it's too late. Once it gets started, you can't stop it. But then doesn't realize that what R2 is actually trying to do is accelerate the fuse.
Right?
Yeah. He's trying to shorten the fuse here. So then the rest of the droids see, the Gascon and them see that the R2 has already done this, so they end up getting on the ship anyways, right? They get on the shuttle and fly off.
Yeah, because they're on the shuttle, and Whack has taken off. Mm-hmm. Because when Gascon sees that R2's in trouble, he's like, all right, everybody on the fucking ship. And then Whack's like, nah, we're out of here. And then R2...
Then this is when we cut... Yeah.
R2 initiates the
He hits
detonation.
The countdown. Yeah.
We see the explosion. There are side cuts away from this where we
first of all, we cut to the NATO meeting. Mm-hmm. And we do get glimpses of Skywalker and Obi-Wan. Mm-hmm. and a bunch of other folks, and they're just like, hey, what's going on out there? Like that ship's not slowing down. It's coming in hot. It's coming in real hot. So like they all have a freak out, and Tarkin is there too, right? So then we do cut back to the ship. R2-D2 is on board the destroyer when it blows up. So it does blow up before reaching the intended target, right? Yes. So it blows up before reaching the target. It's a huge explosion. It just like shakes everybody, but doesn't seem to cause as much damage as it could have, right?
Correct.
So then
it basically blowed up stuff outside.
Yeah, like there's some collateral damage from like the ship just, breaking apart, right?
Mm-hmm.
So out there, Gascon on the shuttle is able finally to contact the NATO station, as we're going to call it, and explain what happened. And Anakin is like, wait, what are you talking about? And Gascon's like, oh yeah, R2 was the one who hit the button, and that's why it blew up. But it was meant to blow you guys all up, but we stopped it.
R2 saved all of your lives.
Yeah, so then Skywalker is like, no, get a search team out there. We're going to find him. The salvage team does find R2 floating around, and they do get him to a repair bay, and they fix him up. Not even a fucking issue at all.
Nope.
It literally cuts to Anakin coming back on a shiny R2. It's like, hey, buddy, that was a close one, basically, wasn't it? So then Anakin's there, R2's there, and then Gascon and the rest of D Squad all show up, and Gascon is like, hey, we did our thing, and I didn't believe in you guys at first, but we done did it. So, it'd be great. This was great. I've discovered the meaning of a team, and it'd be great to work with you guys again. And then Whack is like, oh, by the way, yeah, we've been assigned to your platoon. And Gascon like rolls his eyes, and he's just like, God damn it, basically. So yeah, Gascon is just like, damn it. So like nice words out of Gascon, but again, doesn't seem like he fucking learned shit.
Nope.
But then we like pan out. It's the whole crew all hanging out together. And then this is when we iris in, cue loud music.
Cue loud music. Cue the questions.
Go for it.
All right. Okay. So the Separatist plan is to steal the ship, fill it with Rhydonium, and then blow it up at the NATO conference, right?
Yeah.
When they drop out of hyperspace, the tactical droid is like, approach NATO conference at ramming speed. But they don't have the detonator programmed already, and so it actually needs a detonator to ignite all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't just like crash it into the building. That would be enough.
I think I think it's two things. It's like they're just trying to time it so that it's a guaranteed explosion. I think the Rhydonium would still probably explode under
maybe or
circumstances,
or maybe the good guy Star Destroyer would just like smash through the space station. Right.
Okay. Exactly. Yeah.
Which seems like that would probably be pretty effective. Also,
same. Yeah. Right.
But okay, and then next, a place where a meeting is occurring with multiple generals and whatnot has zero defense against some rogue ship that is approaching them.
Well, I think the idea is that the ship is by that time the ship is too close. Like they weren't ready for it, right?
Okay.
I'll
take that one.
And because like they weren't looking out for it, they just thought the ship was approaching, and then by the time they realized, like, hey, it's real fast, like it's a cruise ship that's already like 30 feet from the dock, and nobody slowed it down yet.
So it's like speed 2.
Speed 2, yeah. So we went from speed 1 to speed 2.
Right. Hey, how about that? But this speed has this speed 2 has many barrel. God damn, sorry. Many barrels of oil on it that or many boxes of TNT, maybe, with a detonator, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Last question.
Mm-hmm.
This is enough Rhydonium to blow up an entire Republic fleet?
Yeah.
But only knocks off R2-D2's arm?
Right.
And
R2-D2 is like
epicenter
right
of all
it.
of this. Like,
yeah.
it breaks windows through space and knocks down dozens of clone troopers like over railings just by the shockwave.
Yep. But R2-D2, who's like 20 feet above it.
Yeah.
You know, I think like when they find him in space, he's like missing one of his like legs.
Yeah.
You know?
It just knocked one of his arms off.
Yeah. And he's just kind of banged up, but that's as bad as it is, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I don't buy any of that. So,
all right.
Yep.
As
don't
long as we have clarified those are the only other questions that I had.
Yeah, I mean, R2-D2 surviving is probably my biggest problem with that finale for sure.
Okay.
And then it's the turnaround between that, like, there is no tension of whether or not R2-D2's okay. We pretty much cut from Anakin going like, send a search squad out there, a search team. Then we essentially, the next shot is seeing him floating in space with one of the search teams overhead, and then like one of the clones immediately spots him, right?
Yeah. He's in spotlight immediately, and then also immediately he's like hanging upside down. You see Anakin peek through what might as well be like library bookshelves.
Right. Yeah. Anakin just like enters the room and starts talking to him, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Then we get this speech from Gascon, and then like it ends, which is just like, not only for this episode, but then like on top of that, the fact that this is ending a 4-episode arc, it's just like the weirdest place to end all of this.
Yes.
Just because for this arc, there wasn't one consistent mission, there wasn't one consistent throughput, you know?
Right.
So by the time we get to episode 4 here of this arc, and it ends here, it just feels off. Like it didn't feel like we were leading to this, and I like, it's just awkward. That's all I got on that, you know? And just seeing Gascon like angry again, just it just undoes what 4 episodes kept trying to build up, you know?
Okay.
But then like each episode builds it up and then undoes it, builds it up, and then again here at the end they undo it one last time.
Is it like just like a series of trip at the finish lines, and this is number 4 trip at the finish line for you?
I don't even think it's trip at the finish line. It's like they didn't start the race at this point, you know?
Okay.
Like they're looking at the finish line, and then they're like, you know, and then they walk away. You know?
Gotcha.
They're like, screw it. Like, there's nowhere else for this to go. We've wrapped it up. The main thing, like, they're calling the explosion like the climax of this episode, you know? So I'm like, sure, you know?
It was a thing that happened.
Yeah, it happened. But then, like, everything else afterwards, I just don't know why any of this. It's clunky. It's clunky on the way out. It's just
McClunky.
Very McClunky.
So thumbs up, thumbs down?
Very much a thumbs down on this one.
Okay.
Very much a thumbs down.
That gives you're 4 for 4 on thumbs down on this. I'm giving this one a thumbs down as well. Honestly, the first time I watched it, I thought it was fine.
Mm.
I think if I would just watch these 4 episodes like straight through in, you know, an hour and 20 minutes or whatever it would take, I'd be like, okay, that was fine. Right.
Yeah.
So my thumbs down this week splits this 2 for 2 for me, which I'm okay with.
Yeah.
I would say that when we started sitting down and talking about this, I was closer to a thumbs up, but I definitely thought like I need to balance out my score here because this 4-parter is definitely not a 3 up, 1 down.
Right.
But for me, it's not a 3 down, 1 up either. Like, it's if we had a 3-point grading scale, it'd be a 2. Everything would be a 2 all the way through. But we don't. So 2 up, 2 down for me, I'm okay with.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Like, I feel like if I were just binging this show, right, over a weekend,
it's a very episodes, middle of the road.
Yeah, like these 4 episodes aren't like offensively bad or anything per se, but the fact that I have no memory. Again, this is the other litmus I always use is I did not remember Gascon as a character before we started this arc whatsoever. Had zero memory of him.
Yep.
Had zero memory of this whole arc, you know? And I already know as soon as we're done with this, I'm going to forget about him again.
Yeah.
You know? So I understand your reasoning for wanting 2 up, 2 down, but
I did not go into this wanting 2 up, 2 down.
Right. But then still, it's just like, for me, it's just like the way the cookie crumbles. Like, look, each episode is not great, so there's just 4 down all the way across. That's not to say that the arc is worthless, you know?
Right.
It's just judging these episodes individually.
Yeah.
You know?
I would overall, I would say they're fine.
I wouldn't say that. I'm like, they're there.
Yeah.
If I watch these 4, I'd just be like, I don't know what the fuck I just watched, you know? Like, I'm not going to say they're not offensively bad. I just also don't know why they exist. You know, I got nothing out of them, you know, and I'm not going to lie. Like this episode to me, I actually just found kind of boring, you know, actually all 4 I found kind of boring, you know,
so
if this was 2 episodes, I think there's a story there for 2, but not for 4, you know. Especially not the 4 that we got.
I agree with you on that. Speaking this episode specifically, like the helpless gonk droids,
right?
Treadwell, mouse droid, gave me like a Toy Story Sid's Room vibe, where it's like you think that there's going to be like something bad, but then it turns out there's just like this helpless cluster of no-name characters that they're not there to push the plot forward necessarily, but like they're there for a hero's moment for our main characters, and that lasts all of 2 scenes, and then we get the Monster of the Week spider thing, with all the buzz droids, and then we go back to the main plot, I guess, of the episode. So it's like, individually, those 2 things are interesting to me, but the fact that they last in between commercial breaks or less than that just kind of deflates that balloon immediately.
Yeah,
and then it becomes just a distraction from what's actually happening in this episode.
Yeah, so, there's no throughput here, and especially even like, again, for an episode 4 where we get a new plot for this episode specifically, like, oh, there's a bomb, and the bomb is going to blow up a meeting, you know? Like, why can't we have one arc that, like, all of that is set up episode 1, and then they're dealing with it for 2-3 additional episodes, you know? Why is it that each of these episodes were, like, with these characters, suddenly it's like 10 minutes of like, oh, this ship is dead. Like, what's this mystery? And then the mystery gets solved. You know, it's mystery, solve, mystery, solve, mystery, solve, action point, solve, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just like, oh, gosh, you know, it's just clunky. It's clunky.
McClunky.
Very McClunky. So that's all I've got on this. So...
I'm good with wrapping it up at this point. Moving forward from here, the next episode chronologically is Revival. We do have a time travel. We're going from season 5 episode 13 to season 5 episode 1. So I am confident at this point that we're moving past these droids, because I feel like for the past few episodes I have been expecting like that to be the end of whatever is happening with these droids. So I'm confident that we're moving past them. I am excited to see what happens come when we get to Revival.
I'm excited to never see Gascon again, honestly. Gascon, to me, honestly, after watching all of this, is probably one of my least favorite Star Wars characters I've ever encountered, honestly. So
interesting.
That's probably going to be the harshest thing I have to say about this arc. Like, I just never at all could stand Gascon, and especially now that we're at this fourth episode.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. I'm ready to move on.
Yeah.
I do not want to see him ever again.
Well, let's hope that there is not a revival of Gascon next week.
Oh God,
or beyond.
Yeah.
So
but otherwise, if anybody is curious to let us know what they think, please head over to notthenerds.com. All of our episodes are there. YouTube links are there. Social media links are there. Everything, notthenerds.com. But as always, we like to try and thank Lindsay at strangefantasymusic@gmail.com. She put together the jingle that you hear at the beginning and end of every episode. We also like to thank Kevin at They Call Me K-Dub on Twitter. He put together the cover art that you see on wherever you're listening to this. And we also like to thank Anthony at Blue the Beard on Twitter, correct?
Correct.
He's the fellow that put together notthenerds.com for us. So we like to thank all three of them every time. Thanks to them for putting that together. Please, wherever you're listening to this, whether it be iTunes or Apple Podcasts now, still haven't gotten that set in my brain yet when they made that switch, even though I think it's been like a year or something now, right?
Yeah.
So Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, wherever, YouTube, wherever you're listening to this, please give us a like and subscribe. You know, those are always helpful. And comment, please. We like reading the comments that you guys leave for us. But yeah, otherwise, until next time, I am Lorenzo.
Kevin Horde.
These aren't the nerds you're looking for.
Bye-bye.